Hello everybody, how you doing today? This is Tuxedo T-shirt making my second video in just a couple of weeks time. Pretty exciting stuff after you've been away for 2.5 years. Speaking of that, I just wanted to start off this video by saying a huge thank you to those people who watched my last video. That one was of course the first that I'd released in a very long time. I had no idea how that video was going to be received, and it was received really positively. You know, my audience is small, but that doesn't mean that it's not a worthwhile group of people who I should make an effort to still communicate with, and I love making content for you guys. Today's video is a little different than anything I've done in the past. I released the survey that a lot of people took the time to respond to after I made that video, which I really appreciate, by the way. Basically, unanimously, those people, it was 2 questions on the survey, by the way, for those people who may not have checked it out. The first question was, how often do you want to see content? The options were as often as humanly possible. The second option was about once a month, and the third one was I think once every few months. And then the second question was, what kind of content do you want to see? Anything, just Madden, or only non-Madden stuff? I guess I put that third option there for a reason. I don't know why anybody who would just watch me do Madden stuff would select it to say, oh, I want to watch your stuff, just not Madden. It's a little strange, but that's okay. I put the option there. Nobody answered that one, by the way. Almost unanimously, I think it was 96% of people said they just want to see uploads as often as possible. And under the Madden question, it was a little bit less unanimous, but still very popular. Most people just wanted to see just content, period, whether or not it was Madden. There was a small contingent, about 10% of people, who only wanted to see Madden content, so I apologize to those people. Today's video is not Madden content. Today, I wanted to start a little series, just talking about whatever. The idea for the name of this video came from a subscriber of mine whose username on YouTube is A Simple Saundering Soldier. They suggested on the comment section of my last video that I do segments called Tux Talks. So today's Tux Talks is the first one ever. I'm going to talk about the new Power Rangers movie. I know, really picking the most important things in today's world. With, you know, we're on the brink of World War III here, and I'm going to talk about Power Rangers. But I do want to talk about it only because I feel like with the release of The Fate of the Furious, this movie's disappearing. And if you didn't see it, that's fine. If you like Power Rangers, if you don't like Power Rangers, that's fine. But I grew up with Power Rangers. I always really enjoyed it as a show. The problem is Power Rangers is on Netflix. If you want to check it out, you can. The original series from the 90s. Some of my subscribers, actually many of them probably, will be too young to ever have seen it. If you go back and you watch it, it's delightful. Not because it's good, just because it is unbelievably silly and dated. It is a perfect representation of what your average after-school, turn-off-your-brain entertainment was from the early to mid-90s. Every episode was identical, essentially, a highly formulaic show. And in addition to that, the first season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, most new shows, you know, the first season they get 13 episodes, maybe 26. The first season of Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 1993, lasted a whopping 60 episodes, 60 episodes, and many of the seasons since then have been just as long. There was 3 seasons of Mighty Morphin, followed by close to 20 other seasons of Power Rangers, different reiterations of some, you know, some of which I think take place in the same canon, some of which don't, I believe. Haven't really followed up on it. The thing is, here's what I want to talk about this. When I go back to watch Power Rangers, I really enjoy the first episode. By the second episode, I begin to kind of, it loses its allure. It's no, because again, all the episodes are the same. And by the third one, I'm turning off Netflix and doing something else with my time. Which is why I gotta say, this new movie that came out was really good. I really do believe that. It's silly. It's a Power Rangers movie still. But I thought that it did a wonderful job of taking something that was very silly, still fun, don't get me wrong, but silly and dated, and gave it a really great update for the 21st century. A lot of people will just latch onto the fact that the movie had an LGBT character and an autistic character as well, which I think are fine updates. However, I think that, you know, if you get past just that surface level stuff, the changes are wholesale on all 5 of the Rangers. In the original show, when you watch Mighty Morphin, the 5 Power Rangers have virtually no character. Billy the Blue Ranger is a nerd and will speak in highly evolved type of speech. He's very sophisticated and technical. And other than that, pretty much everybody is just interchangeable. There's no distinct character from any of the 5 Rangers. And on top of that, one of the things that always bothered me, even as a kid watching the show, is Zordon starts every episode by saying, "Bring me teenagers with attitude," as part of the show's opening theme. And none of the teenagers have attitude. They are all straight A students who, are involved in extracurriculars and often do bake sales for the homeless and volunteer at the soup kitchen and things like that. None of them are dangerous or different or weird. They're all, the types of kids who we'd all want our own sons and daughters to turn out to be, which is not what comes to mind when you hear the phrase teenagers with attitude. And what this movie did was actually set up a really, I think, charming group of also damaged teenagers as heroes. I'd compare Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to almost like a Saved by the Bell type of like late 80s, early 90s cheese, where the characters are uninteresting, may have been funny or cool in their day, but watching them now, it just is aged terribly. What this movie did, what 2017, the film, what Power Rangers did was, I think, borrow from a film like The Breakfast Club. In fact, if you've seen The Breakfast Club, and The Breakfast Club is one of my favorite movies, by the way, if you've seen The Breakfast Club, it opens with 5 students attending Saturday morning detention. First of all, worst school ever. I don't know who would have detention on a Saturday. But if you can suspend your disbelief for that, it's 5 people from who have nothing in common, belong to different cliques in the school, coming together for a Saturday detention. And believe it or not, that's exactly what happens in this movie. 5 teenagers from completely different areas of the school, one of whom is an athlete, one of whom is a princess, one of whom is a social outcast, one of whom is a brain, and one of whom is a rebel. It's literally the same 5 archetypes as well, are at school on a Saturday for detention. Now, there are other students there. They do some things to change it up from just The Breakfast Club. However, if the original show, and the movie by extension, because there was a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers film as well that came out in 1995, that was like Saved by the Bell with kicking ass in between. And what this movie did is it basically was The Breakfast Club with 50 minutes of kicking ass at the end. And I love that. I thought it was outstanding. Are there silly lines? Yes. However, with that being said, I thought this movie did something really unique and different in a very, I'll say it this way, I think a very saturated market of superhero movies that are coming out. One of the reviews that I read, and you can see the quote on Wikipedia, because by the way, the reason I'm making this video is basically just to say how disappointed I am that it's not done better at the box office right now. Power Rangers on a $100 million budget has made $128 million back. It's unlikely that the studio is going to make its money back, which means the 5 sequels that they had planned for this movie are likely not going to happen, which I think is awful. I'll get back to that in a moment. But the line here, and this is a quote from Owen Gleiberman of Variety. He says, 25 years ago, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was launched as superhero fodder for kids, and there was indeed a place for it, but now we're so awash in superhero culture that kids no longer need the safe, lame, pandering Junior League version of it. They can just watch Ant-Man or the PG-13 Suicide Squad. Really, buddy? We're going to talk about how kids need to watch Suicide Squad because there's a superhero movie that might make them think a little bit? Like, I'm not saying that Power Rangers is a thought piece. I'm not saying that it's, it's this generation Citizen Kane, but it does a wonderful job for the first 90 minutes of the film, just giving us an opportunity to get to know these kids. We don't really see anybody else at the school. They're at the very beginning of the movie. There's a little scene to show how Jason gets to where he is in detention. There's a short scene that has a couple of other popular girls talk to Kimberly and kind of reveal why she's in detention. Other than that, we really don't see any other characters. We get just a little glimpse of some of the kids' parents, which is one of the things I think is great about The Breakfast Club, by the way. At the beginning of the movie, we see these tiny, short little bursts of interactions between kids and parents that tells us everything we need to know about these characters' home lives. And then the movie can proceed. And we spend the rest of the movie with those kids. And that's something I think Power Rangers does. We see a little bit of Billy at home. He mentions that his dad has passed away, and we see how stressed out his mom is and how unable she is to deal with the fact that she has this son who's autistic and a little bit weird, and how she's struggling to deal with that, how he's socially different, and she just doesn't understand him and his interests. We see a little bit of Trini at home with her parents, just completely unable to deal with the fact that she's so antisocial and unrelatable to them. There's these great little glimpses that remind me again very much of The Breakfast Club. And then we just get to see these kids interact and get to know each other. And I think it's wonderful. Also, the amount of talent that we have is phenomenal. Who knew? They found 5 really good young actors to play this quintet of heroes. I thought that usually there's kind of one star and the rest, the performances or whatever. I thought all 5 performances were really good. And the adult cast that they have, because again, there's not many characters in this movie outside of our 5 heroes that we really get to know on any level. Bryan Cranston as Zordon, Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa, Bill Hader as Alpha 5. How can you ask for better than that? I thought it was all in all a really smart update that I was really looking forward to seeing the next movie. There's even a teaser at the end where you see a green jacket as the teacher announces that Tommy Oliver is going to be joining the group for detention, which is a huge hint that the Green Ranger is of course going to be in the next movie. Also, prediction, if the sequel comes out, I think they're going to gender flip the Green Ranger to have 3 guys and 3 girls in the main cast. That aside, I just think it's sad that more people didn't see this movie. I get that it's Power Rangers, and maybe I'm in the minority, saying that I still, despite its flaws, consider myself to be a Power Rangers fan. But I think one of the things, by the way, that really hurt this movie was the fact that it came out at the same time as Beauty and the Beast. Here's my problem with it. I also love Beauty and the Beast. Actually, Power Rangers and Beauty and the Beast were probably my 2 favorite movies. Show/movie, because I did love the 1995 movie when it came out for Power Rangers with the original cast from the show. Probably before the age of 10, if you ask me, my 2 favorite movies were probably Power Rangers and Beauty and the Beast. Maybe The Goonies works its way in there, but those were like my 2 favorite movies of my childhood. They happen to have new versions come out in 2017. Who knew? But the problem I have with Beauty and the Beast is it was just an okay movie that followed up one of the best movies ever made, and arguably the best animated film of all time, which was the original, I believe, 1991 Disney version of Beauty and the Beast. Then Power Rangers comes out, and I'm not saying this Power Rangers is better necessarily than the new Beauty and the Beast. However, I think it's a really good update and a really huge improvement over some source material that desperately needed it. Nobody watches the animated Beauty and the Beast and says, you know what? We could use a new version of this, and let's get a chick who can't sing to play Belle, and let's replace the Beast with a horribly CGI'd version, and let's call it live action, even though most of it is just, again, sloppy CGI, starting with the Beast himself. But you watch Power Rangers and you go, you know what? This could really use an update. This is a good concept. It's silly. Yes, it's silly, but it's a good concept with some really interesting ideas, some really great opportunities for character development, for some action. And it's, it's frustrating. Beauty and the Beast has already made $500 million. Disney's going to continue to pump out these live action versions. I know there's already a Little Mermaid in the works, and they've recently done Cinderella and a bunch of other them. Whatever. I just think it's sad that movie throttled this one at the box office. And again, as Fate of the Furious is now out, Fate of the Furious is gonna chew this up. I looked and I think Power Rangers is maybe on pace to make $2 million this week, so it's gonna be out of theaters very shortly. And I was really looking forward to seeing these actors grow. I also thought, and I'll say this too, I thought the movie did such a good job of not overplaying its hand. which is one of the things that had me excited for a sequel. It's 2 hours, but again, as I said, it was almost like a 90-minute Breakfast Club style film that was mostly a talk piece with these 5 kids getting to know each other with some ass kicking at the end. They didn't overdo it, though. I didn't think on either end. I could have used a little more action, but again, in today's landscape of film where there's so much action out there, I think that the talking aspect of things and the character development side of things is probably where you're going to get more people. And I didn't think they overdid it. There was still mystery about Trini's character. There was still more to learn about Billy and how his autism was going to affect his friendship with these 4 people. There was also a scene in the original movie where Jason and Kimberly kiss, which was cut, and I thought that was a great decision, because if they are going to become romantically involved, I don't see why we have to rush there. All those things had me so excited for a sequel, and it's unlikely that any of the sequels that they plan are going to be made now, which is just too bad. Amazing Spider-Man 2, by the way, I felt the same way about that movie. I think it's kind of become popular in the last couple years to crap on that movie, and I'll admit that movie was flawed in a few different ways, and I'd be happy to talk about it sometime, but I was really excited to see what the next chapter was going to be for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man 3. We're not going to get that movie ever, and now it's unlikely that we're going to get another Power Rangers film with this iteration, which I think is too bad. However, I've rambled for long enough. If you agree with me, I'd love to hear why. If you disagree, I'd also love to hear your thoughts. Did you see Power Rangers? Did you not see Power Rangers? If you did you like it? If not, did you wish that you'd seen it? Or are you glad that you stayed away? I'd be interested in your thoughts. Anyways, this is the conclusion of the first Tux Talks video. And on that note, I'm Tuxedo T-shirt, and I'm out.